Good afternoon, Thompson Rivers University. My name is Adam Popien with Remax Real Estate Kamloops. I'm a licensed professional there, and I am also a TRU alumni board member, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk a little bit of real estate with you. Today's video is an installment of the 50 Gifts of Learning, part of TRU's 50th year anniversary. So what I'm going to be talking about today in the video is, first of all, I'm going to talk about the home buying process. Now, whether you are a first-time home buyer or you're a seasoned professional and you've done it a couple different times, hopefully you'll be able to get a couple good tidbits of advice out of today's video. And I'm also going to finish things off by talking about the current environment in real estate. Of course, COVID-19 has affected our economy from top to bottom. And I just want to talk about locally what's going on in the Kamloops market, and also tell you what our industry is doing to protect consumers and realtors as we continue to evolve through this situation. So let's get started with the video. I'm going to give you my 7 steps of home buying process. And again, there's tons of information out there, resources on the internet of how to do the step-by-step, but this is something that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and I hope that this will just help streamline and also simplify the process for you, because it's a lot of information. It doesn't matter whether you're a first-timer or not. It is a lot of information for anybody, and it's an emotional roller coaster. It really is. My wife and I just bought another place here, and even being a professional that works in this day by day, I can honestly say that there were times where you feel a little stressed out. You're happy, you're anxious, you're feeling a whole bunch of things at different times, and so again, my job as a realtor is to help simplify that for all my clients, and hopefully for you if you're thinking about doing this in the near future. So where do you start? What is the number one spot to start in with your real estate transaction? You're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm ready to start looking into the process. I want to start looking at homes. Maybe you've already been looking a little bit online. The first step is kind of a combination step, and there's no real right way to start. It can be 2 different steps, or it can be one combined. So you're either right off the bat, you're either going to meet with your real estate professional to really sit down, talk about this process, and talk about what you're looking for and what your goals are in real estate. And that realtor will help direct you right from the get-go. The other thing that you can do either before or usually right around the same time is you can meet with your bank or your mortgage broker. So just like anything, when you go out and buy any type of product out there, you want to make sure you know what you can afford and what your budget's going to be. And I got to be honest, I'm still surprised nowadays to see how many people come to me and they haven't talked to their bank, they haven't talked to a broker at all, and they want to, get out there and start looking at property. That's great. I love the enthusiasm, but at the same time, you don't want to waste your own time going out there and spending a whole bunch of time and emotional energy, and then only to find out at the end of the day that you can't quite do it. And so one of the real world examples that I want to give you today is a couple of years ago, I had a really great young couple call me up. I met with them. We talked about what they wanted to do and what their goals were in real estate. And of course, one of the first questions that I asked them is, are you pre-qualified? And their answer without hesitation was yes. Oh yeah, we've looked into the bank, it's all good. So I said, great, let's start the process. So we started going out there looking at property, and we found a great little house with a little rental suite in the basement. And not surprisingly, when we went to write an offer on it, it was a multiple offer situation, because the suite is something that's sought after nowadays, and also the price point at that time was very doable for a lot of people. So there's 3 offers in total, and usually the way that it works with a multiple offer is that the listing agent will say to the buyer's agents, okay, you guys, you're in multiple bids. I'm going to meet with the sellers at X time this evening and present all of these offers. So have these offers to me by this time. So we wrote an offer, we put our best foot forward, and we wound up winning the bid. It was great. We were really, both myself and especially the buyers were really excited, and we were about to start taking our next steps into the real estate transaction. But shortly after that, about 1 or 2 days later, I get a call from Mrs. Buyer, and she's quite upset over the phone. She basically said to me in a nutshell, we weren't quite pre-qualified the way that we thought that we were. And, in fairness, there's a lot of different pre-qualifications, if you will, out there. The verbiage gets thrown around, and it really can get confusing at certain times. One of the pitfalls that I have to warn you all of is some of these 60-second pre-approval processes are really it's not a true pre-approval. The way that you get pre-approved is you go in and you're sitting down with, or at least you're emailing back and forth, and you are giving your banking professional, you're giving them tax documents, you're giving them pay stubs, you're giving them quite a bit of documentation which allows them to really truly pre-qualify you and make sure that you know what you can spend. Now, some of these pre-qualification tools online, I don't personally love these because you can punch in any amount of money. It asks you what you make, and of course everybody thinks that they make a little bit more than they do, and you punch in any numbers that you like, and it really just doesn't dive into the information to properly get that pre-approval. So at the end of the day, with Mr. Buyer and Mr. and Mrs. Buyer in this circumstance, they had to step away from the deal. We had to collapse it, and of course, emotionally they were very upset. They were really excited, and it was really tough for them to not be able to pull through with it. So again, that's step number one. Is, again, you're meeting with your realtor, you're meeting with your financial advisor, and you're getting pre-approved, and you're starting to set that roadmap for the real estate transaction. So number two is viewing properties. You've done that pre-approval. You're going out there and you're actually doing some of the fun stuff, which honestly is going out and looking at property. I never get tired of it. I love real estate. Every property is a little different from the next, and especially when you're a buyer and, again, you've got your ducks in a row, you start to get that fun feeling of that you're going places. One thing that I do want to touch on is that it's mostly a process of elimination, not selection. Really, that's the way that it works. You're trying to filter down what isn't going to work for you, and then at the bottom of that filtration, you're going to have a smaller group of properties. But that's really the ideal way to search and streamline that. Now, I do want to one other tip that I want to give you is when you start looking at properties, go and do a drive-by and view the exterior of the property. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled up to a property with clients. We get out of the car and they look over at me and they say, "Hey, Adam, you know what? Honestly, we're not interested in this property anymore." And it's just another tip on trying to streamline and just save your own time, because a lot of the time you will be able to make that decision just by seeing the neighborhood, the surrounding area, and the exterior of the house. So that's a good tip for you guys there. Now, there's a couple of good resources as well when you start looking for and searching property. Realtor.ca is a fantastic website that we have here in Canada. Really, it is a good site, and I do recommend that. Remax.ca as well is very good. And then, one of the many benefits of meeting with a local real estate professional, if you come and meet with somebody like me, we'll sit down, we'll really narrow what you're looking for, again, highlighting your goals in real estate. But we do have tools as well. We've got a great program called PCS, which stands for Private Client Services. And basically we take your budget, your neighborhoods, all of your customized search criteria, and we plug it into this great program that automatically shoots you an email notification every time a property shows up. So again, lots of great tools like that that just go to help streamline that process. So that was number two, viewing properties. Number 3, making an offer. So again, number 1, you met with your realtor, you met with your banker, you're pre-approved, you've gone out, you viewed a bunch of properties, and you've filtered it down, process of elimination, and you're ready to make an offer on 1 or 2 properties. So this is where, I really must say you gotta use a realtor for this process, because there are a lot of legal pitfalls. We're talking about a legally binding contract between the buyer and the seller, and you really need to know what you're doing at this step. Writing a legally binding contract is not something that is that anybody can do, quite honestly. We as realtors, we are constantly training and upgrading our skills to make sure that we are able to assist our clients and make sure that these contracts aren't going to get them into any trouble. We coordinate dates on the contract. We help advise you on the items that are included, appliances, all that stuff. They're not always included in real estate purchases, so you need to know some of these things. If you're looking at a mobile home, do you know what a CSA silver label sticker is? If you don't, and you go and write on one of those properties, that is a big part of the transaction. You have zoning. You have all these different things that we as realtors are trained to help our clients do. So again, when you go to write that offer, you put pen to paper, you want to make sure that you're properly advised there. So that's number 3, making an offer. Number 4, you've written that offer. You're going to negotiate more often than not. You're going to go back and forth with the seller a little bit. You're probably going to go back and forth on price and maybe some dates, maybe some of those included items, and also the subjects and conditions included in that offer. And once both parties, the buyer and seller, are agree on that, of course, everything has to be in writing, initialed and signed by both parties. That's when you technically have an accepted offer. So that's a little, mini congratulations, as I like to say to a lot of my clients, because, it's a big step to get to that accepted offer, but you're also not through the woods. There's a lot of due diligence and work that needs to be done. So typically, once you have that accepted offer, you have anywhere from 10 to 14 days typically to do your due diligence. So that's where you're doing your home inspection, you're finalizing your financing. There's a number of documents, including, the title search, property disclosure statement. I won't go too much into the details, but that's where you have that period of time where you go through and you make sure that you're satisfied with all that information in regards to the property. So number 5, subject removal. So you get the accepted offer, you go through that period of time, 10 to 14 days, you are satisfied with everything, all the information checks out, your home inspection is good, all that kind of stuff. This is where you sign a form that's called a subject removal form, and at this point, this is technically when a property is sold. That's a question I get quite a bit, is when does a property actually sell? Because there's a number of different dates throughout the real estate transaction. This is where the sign goes up on the yard that says sold. So this is the point where you can really truly get excited, because you've done your due diligence, you've done all that stuff. The transaction at this point is basically over. You're just waiting for the actual completion and possession dates to come, which are typically a couple weeks or a couple months more. And that's, really we're segueing into number 6 here, which is that process, that waiting time. In the States, the terminology is in escrow, which we don't really use here much in Canada, honestly. But it is that time between your subject removal and your completion date that you're just kind of waiting for. The deal is pending, but it's legally binding at that point. So at this point, you're doing some small but important things. You're setting up your utilities, you're getting your mail redirected. You're also meeting with your lawyer or your notary. They are the ones that will actually do the conveyancing and help you complete the deal. And you're also doing some of the final work on your financing and some of that stuff. Now, this is a really important tip that I want to share with you. And this is honestly crucial. I'm lucky enough that I haven't had to deal with this personally, but I've certainly talked to colleagues and I've read about many experiences and situations where this has happened in our industry. During this time between your subject removal and the completion date, do not go out and make any big purchases or do any job changes. So if you go out and you buy a car or you buy an ATV, something that is a substantial chunk of money, or you change your job, that all can affect your financing. And some people don't, they get to that subject removal. Again, the property is technically sold, but the deal is not completed. The money has not changed hands between the two parties. And going and making some kind of last minute purchase or big change like this can have huge negative consequences. And it can actually, still at this point, the deal cannot complete due to something like that. So that would be my big tip and piece of advice there. Don't make any big changes during this time. Okay, and number 7 is completion or registration. This is the last step of the process. So this is basically where you get your keys and you move in. Your lawyer or your notary is going to register you as the new owner on title, and so from a legal standpoint, you are now the owner of that property. So from a realtor's standpoint, when it comes up to this last couple days, we are making, we're setting things up and making arrangement for the keys and any last minute items. And typically we get those keys on the day of possession. We go and we do a walkthrough with our clients and make sure that they're happy with the property. Everything has been left in good working order. And then there it is. There's your congratulations, and it's all said and done in a nutshell there. So anyway, I know that that's a ton of information to absorb. Hopefully out of all of that, you get a couple tidbits of advice throughout. And anyway, like I said at the start of this, it is not a simple process. There are this is really a simplified version of your real estate transaction. And there's a lot of other things that can happen along the way. So, being properly advised and properly informed is a huge part of this. So hopefully that helps you whenever you go to make your next or first real estate purchase. So that's the home buying process. Again, like I said at the start of the video, I want to talk about COVID-19 very quickly here and just give you a sense of where the market may be headed. Now, a bit of a disclaimer for me is that things are still really fresh. COVID has really just kind of, we're still in the beginning stages of COVID. We haven't really seen what the true effect is going to be on the economy, and especially in real estate. So we, as everybody else, are just kind of waiting and seeing and trying to evolve with the situation as well. Sorry, by the way, if you can hear some hammering. I'm having some renovations done in my basement downstairs. It's when you can't go to the office, things are a little bit different, that's for sure. So in Kamloops, just to give you a snapshot of what the market has been doing, for the last number of years, it's definitely been a seller's market. So that means that the inventory is low, and that has also helped push the average price up in Kamloops over the last couple of years. So there's a lower amount of inventory. Basic economics is supply and demand. If there's not enough supply, then the demand is much higher, and that can certainly push those prices up. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. Even with COVID, this is really interesting. Again, we're just getting the first couple months of data as far as sales go. The sales, the sales themselves have dropped substantially, which is no surprise at all. For a couple weeks there, we, as with everybody else in the economy, were at a bit of a standstill. But the thing that didn't really change is the prices. Year over year, April 2019 to April 2020, there is a 0.3% change in the average price. So again, what's happened is we are still in a seller's market, and I believe we're going to continue to be in a seller's market outside of this. The inventory has been so low that it really hasn't resulted in any price change whatsoever. So, again, this is one of those things that we are going to continue to monitor and watch as the months and weeks go on here. The other thing too is that, fairly quickly on into the COVID pandemic, we as realtors were listed as an essential service. So for the most part, we have been helping clients still buy and sell throughout these times. Mostly clients that we would deem essential or urgent transactions. Maybe you've already sold a home. Maybe you basically have to get into something. Those people have been out there still looking at real estate. And when we do go out and look with those people, we have a number of protocols in place that our local board has helped us with, and also on a provincial and nationwide standpoint as well. Whenever we go into properties nowadays, basically what we're asking our clients is not to touch anything whatsoever. We as realtors, we are typically wearing gloves. We have alcohol wipes, so we wipe down any surfaces that have been touched. And again, we're just asking our clients to keep their hands in their pocket and just really try to avoid touching anything while we're in there. Virtual tours, this is something that's been gaining popularity in real estate way before COVID. But of course, right now, video tours, Matterport cameras, all that stuff are really coming into the industry. And I think that this is probably just going to help boost those things as time has gone on. So that's kind of it in a snapshot. I think the Kamloops market has shown some real resiliency over the last number of years. And I think that long term, our city has a lot of great things to offer. In the province, we have a lot of people coming from the coast. We have people coming from Alberta. We have people just relocating from the Okanagan itself. So I think that we're really well set up. We've got a lot of great amenities here. And I think, honestly, we're a bit of a hidden gem. And I think people are just starting to find that out now. So I really do think that our long-term forecast for this city, specifically in real estate, I think we're going to come out just fine on the other end. So that pretty much concludes the video for today. I just want to wrap up by giving you guys a couple recommended sources for any of this information. We've got CREA, which is the Canadian Real Estate Association. So that's our national real estate association. They've got a whole bunch of great information on there for consumers. And the one thing I really want to point out is the Home Buyers Roadmap. So it's a really cool, like, kind of app program, if you will, that you can go into. It's an active roadmap where you can fill out some information, and it kind of gives you a bit of a step-by-step of how the process works, similar to the way that I talked about earlier on in the video. BCREA, which is the BC Real Estate Association, again, really great resource for consumers here locally in BC. And then CADREA, which is the Kamloops Real Estate Association. We've done a lot of stuff locally here in the last couple of years to boost our association, try to give more tools not only to our realtors but to our consumers as well. And so I welcome you to go and check out any of those resources whenever you get the chance. So again, Adam Popien here from Remax Real Estate Kamloops. I really appreciate and I'm glad to have the time to do this video today. I think TRU is a fantastic school, and I really hope that after COVID it can recover as much as the rest of our local economy. So thanks for the video. I hope you guys learned something good today, and of course, if anybody has any questions, you can follow up with me at any time. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day.